name is Dr. Mitch Steimers. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Cloud County Community College in Concordia and Junction City, Kansas, where I also serve as a Phi Theta Kappa advisor. And I'm also a member of the Phi Theta Kappa Honors Program Council. And I'm here today to talk to you about digital footprint management here. So a digital footprint is essentially the breadcrumbs or the trail that you leave behind as you engage in activity online, such as social media, networking, just general surfing around the web, checking your email, shopping, and things like that. So you're leaving behind sort of a trail of your IP address, the machine you logged in from, where you are, what you purchased, and things along those lines. Every time you're online, liking something, posting a photo, making a comment, making a purchase, talking about your political affiliation, geotagging a photo that you upload, you're leaving a digital trail. You're saying something about yourself, and that's your footprint. And how these companies, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, IMDb, for example, you can just look at all these on the logo and the little foot here, and you'll see that what all they have in common is that they collect data about you, then they leverage that data in order to sell it. I'm going to show you sort of an example of how that works towards the end of the video. Well, we really break digital footprints down into two types, active and passive. An active footprint is something like posting a comment on Facebook, or putting up a blog post, or filling out a form, or a customer satisfaction survey, or clicking agree to install cookies, or just simply not changing your settings. But an active footprint is something that you're actively doing out on the web that's giving data to whomever it might be that's collecting it. And that's a little bit different than a passive footprint. A passive footprint is something that's collected, some data that's collected about you that you may not be aware of. There's a little thing called a cookie that is installed on your computer whenever you visit a website, that then when you leave that website, or I should say even when you leave that website, that cookie allows data to be passed back to that the owner of the cookie, so whatever website it came from. So you may not even be aware that all of the traffic you're generating on the internet after you leave a certain site is still being tracked by that site. Trackers also perform that task. Geolocation, again, as I mentioned, when you post a photo, if it's geotagged with lat-long coordinates, it's known in the world where that photo was taken. For the most part, most apps that you use on phones or devices like phones and iPads, those are all collecting usage data and sending that to you probably without you realizing it. And then things like likes and shares, comments or posts or anything like that, largely generated by social media. So these are all things that you're kind of just passively doing that are allowing data to be collected about you. So how do you begin to manage a footprint? Well, first of all, check privacy settings. Go into your settings in Facebook and go into your Google account or LinkedIn or whatever account it might be, and take a look at what your privacy settings look like. Chances are tweaking them is going to be difficult because companies purposefully design their settings to be tricky to navigate. And then be aware that sites like Facebook and Google often update what those settings look like with very vague terms of service that you agree to without realizing what you're agreeing to share. So you have to be active in pursuing those settings to make sure they're what you would really agree to. Some good ways to handle this include using a password manager. If you've never used a password manager, there are a ton of them out there. LastPass is one that I use personally. That's very effective. But you can store passwords inside of Chrome, inside of Google, Safari, Firefox. And what these do for you is allow you to store passwords that you can access from anywhere, first of all, but they also allow you to stop using that same password over and over and over, because you can generate passwords and let the password manager hold on to those credentials for you. So if you are the type that has one password with slight variations for everything, you're really asking for trouble. And there have been recent hacks where companies have lost control of data, including unhashed or unprotected passwords, and that can be very dangerous. Make sure you keep software up to date. So Windows and the Mac OS and phone operating systems all will push updates to you and ask you to do updates with some regularity, and you should do them because they're not only performance issues, but typically those are patching security problems that have been discovered. So keeping your systems up to date can help prevent your data just getting out there. Also, you can use software or browser plugins called ad blockers or tracker blockers, and they're just exactly what they sound like. Ghostery and AdGuard are two very good ones. They have the potential to break the functionality of some websites, so you may have to leave some settings to allow some scripts and some things to run in the background, but for the most part they do a very good job of blocking that tracking ability of the website to follow you around. A few other things you can do. You can use what's called a VPN. You might be familiar with this acronym. It's getting more and more notoriety. It's called a virtual private network. And what a VPN does is essentially create a connected tunnel from your device to a VPN server. The VPN server then goes and asks the website for the information that you're requesting, encrypts it, and then gives it to you. So what that does is cut you off from direct connection to the website, so you're not passing your data to it. You should install these on your phone as well. Note that this will slow down performance a little bit, but most VPNs are getting better about that. You can use browsers that are focused on privacy as opposed to data collection. So if you just think about this, what's one of the most popular browsers in the world? Well, Chrome. Well, Chrome is owned by Google, and Google is in the business of collecting data. So essentially, Google's Chrome browser is a data collector. Safari, Brave, Tor browsers, and Firefox's new release called Quantum are all very good at protecting where your information is being passed to, and there are a lot of very easy to use controls. And finally, you can use search engines that don't care about collecting that data, and DuckDuckGo is definitely one I would recommend. It doesn't keep any records of your searches, and if you're using a VPN or using a Tor network to make that search anyway, there's zero record of that history having occurred. So again, that stops data from getting passed to data collectors, or they're called data brokers, that then package that information and then they resell it, and that's how they make their money. So to summarize, footprint is those breadcrumbs that you kind of leave behind as you just engage in data activity around the internet. You can stop the flow of data coming from your computer to websites pretty easily by just paying attention to what you're doing online, first of all, posting carefully, but really control your settings and control your environment by using browsers that are focused on security, by using a VPN, and by trying to adjust those privacy settings within the services that you use, and you should start to see less of your data going out. So thank you very much.